Hey mi gente, it's Julian Steve. You already know my name, but if you're new here, hey! Today we're going to be talking about the one and only Kendrick Lamar. And before I even go any further, if you're a super fan, a fan, whatever, of Kendrick Lamar's, I highly suggest that you keep this very respectful, this video, and keep the comments respectful, especially when it comes to certain topics that I'm going to be covering in this video about Kendrick Lamar having shaky views on blackness. And another thing, one of my subscribers, hey Chimson, thank you so much for the video idea, recommended me to discuss this discussion about Kendrick Lamar. And as a fan of his, I've noticed certain things that he has done that were questionable. And I thought this could be a good video idea, but I'm afraid because I know how his fans are going to react. Okay? Okay. We're going to start the video now. Kendrick Lamar Duckworth was born on June 17, 1987 in Compton, California to Black American parents Kenny Duckworth and Paula Oliver. He grew up on welfare and Section 8 housing. As a child, he received an education at McNair Elementary and Vanguard Learning Center in the Compton Unified School District. Growing up, Kendrick was quiet and shy in school. He graduated from Centennial High School, where he graduated in 2005 as a straight A student. In 2003, at the age of 16, Lamar released his first full-length project, a mixtape titled Youngest Head Nigga in Charge, Club Center Threat, Minor of the Year, under his stage name, Kodak. The mixtape gathered him recognition and a record deal with Top Dog Entertainment, TDE. Working with his label, he released his second mixtape Training Day in 2005, even though some people report 2007.
Sharp as fuck, but no doubt. It's your boy K-Dot giving a shout out, Dub CNN, here all exclusive shit from West Coast to everywhere else. Top Dog NT signing off. Yeah.
Dub CNN right here with K-Dot. Go ahead and introduce yourself to everybody who don't know you yet.
K-Dot, straight out of Compton, Top Dog NT / Def Jam. Getting it in 07 and 3000. That's my slogan.
More things happened between 2006 through 2010, which includes his third and fourth mixtapes were released. And then boom, Kendrick Lamar's debut studio album, Section .80, was released on July 2nd, 2011.
This the music that saved my life.
I really don't really listen to a lot of rap. I guess because I do it. I get a lot of good energy and vibes off doing music just from people like Floyd, Loud, old D'Angelo, Erykah Badu. You know what I'm saying? And that's a big inspiration because it gives me a different feel for the music where I'm not just hearing a bunch of raps anymore. I'm actually hearing melodies and different way to swing over the beat. I'm not really big in big name producers because I feel like there's a lot of young talent out there that never been heard that's on a level where they more hungry, so that's why I mess with cats like that. Right. Flying Lotus.
Fun fact, this is the only Kendrick Lamar album I never heard of. I maybe change that after this video. Back to Section .80, Kendrick started writing the album in January 2011 at his mother's kitchen and tour bus. There were times he abandoned his songs and came back after to finish the recordings. The concept of the album is based on the women Tammy and Keisha. The two ladies ended up cheating on their boyfriends, and after being caught, they slept together.
Section 80, what you're gonna expect is me not straying away to my original sound of making music that surrounds my life and the people, you know, but just making it on a scale times 10. You dig what I'm saying? I just basically want to focus it around my generation. That's the hint I can give for the concept. And
A mess, I know. In the album, Kendrick makes it clear the objective of his album being about his generation. He talks about deep topics including the crack epidemic in the 80s and Ronald Reagan's evil ass. The album only had one single named High Power.
just call it shit high power. Yeah, nothing less than high power.
After the release of Section .80, Kendrick Lamar released 4 additional studio albums, a compilation album, and soundtrack. He also received numerous awards from his music, including 14 Grammy Awards, 11 MTV Video Music Awards, 9 BET Awards, 25 BET Hip Hop Awards, 7 NAACP Image Awards, and a Pulitzer Prize for Music. Okay, we can begin. So Kendrick Lamar has been called out specifically back in March of 2015, where he put a light-skinned black woman in the cover of a Rolling Stones magazine with him, and this light-skinned black woman happened to be tightening up Kendrick Lamar's cornrows, and this received numerous backlash for people thinking that it should have been someone who is brown to darker skinned doing this for Kendrick Lamar in the Post whatever magazine, you know what I'm saying. And there were also people saying that there are light-skinned black women and or mixed with black women, and that shouldn't be an issue. And then there were also people who were questioning if the woman was of black heritage. Then a Hello Beautiful article by CSJ defends him way back in 2015, and she states, first, second, and third of all, we were appalled by the commentary. On the cover itself, we admit that the woman doesn't look apparently black, but with a closer look at it, and then the release of a 40-second behind-the-scenes video from the Rolling Stones shoot, the woman appears to be black. Keyboard thugs were over this woman not being black enough. Rolls eyes. This argument again, and from our own community? When did having light skin equate to not being black enough in 2015? While I agree with CSJ that light-skinned black people are indeed black, the issue is nuance, but also with Kendrick being labeled a cautious rapper and talking about being pro-black in numerous of his records and embracing brown to darker skinned black women in his lyrics from the beginning of his career, people are expecting more from him, especially because of his counterparts within the rap industry. They have a history of not including brown to darker skinned women as love interests. And it all depends, of course, because there were rappers back when where they did include brown skinned black women, but it was rare when they would include darker skinned black women. And I get the critiques, I understand, but I also get what SCJ is saying too. But at the end of the day, referring to people critiquing her complexion as keyboard thugs is a bit of a stretch, especially if you know these people are from our community, and if you already know that they have a legit reason of why to question Kendrick Lamar's intentions. Do I think it was a serious situation? In my opinion, no. But once again, I do get the criticism. I do. In eBody magazine, he addressed the controversy. Yes, this also happened in 2015. And this is what Kendrick Lamar said. We're brainwashed. I don't know what happened, but colorism is not a good thing, especially when you're black. Yes, it was a black girl, and I wasn't raised like that because it's lighter tones and darker tones in my family. We look so much on color that we forget about the soul. Color don't tell if people black, it's the soul. Once these words come up out my mouth and these yams come up out my mouth, you know I'm not faking. You gotta get that instantly. Being where you from is a strong genetic. You can't run from it. I get it. I get it. This is how he feels. But can we not pretend that everybody can be black within a certain complexion? Of course, there are nuances in between the discussion, but let's be fucking for real. We are not white. Bottom line. We do not all look mixed or different type of ethnicities and or races, especially if you are ambiguously black. So Kendrick saying this is a stretch a bit, but I do agree with him about lighter and darker complexions, because in my family mostly everybody is brown to darker skinned, but I do have a few family members who are lighter skinned. Like, for example, my sisters, both of them are lighter than I am, and they are also lighter than my mom and my dad. So that is true. Still, Kendrick, we need to understand that people who are critiquing colorism are not trying to not understand light-skinned black people's POVs, aka point of views. We get it, but we also have to remember that colorism affects people who are darker skinned within the community. On January 2015, Kendrick Lamar did an interview, and it was a very controversial interview. And before I even get into this subject, because this is a deep one, I do want to acknowledge my background, and after that I'm going to explain why. In case you did not know, and or if you are new to the channel, my name is Julian, and my parents are both from Honduras, and they black. So that makes me Afro-Honduran and or Ghanaian, because my parents have a Ghanaian background with one or both of their parents. The reason why I'm mentioning this is because I've received comments back then when I used to talk about certain topics related to Black American issues, and then people would automatically assume that I'm a Black American, or even when I discuss Afro-Latino discussions, they would assume that I'm an African American or a Black American. And I would try to correct them, or sometimes I wouldn't, because it's like, if you don't check the channel and my other videos, you wouldn't know. So I just want to address this right now, because we are going to talk about Black American issues in the United States, and I am from the United States, but my background is not Black American, African American. I just want to be honest right now, because I do know a few people get mad when Black Americans or African Americans critique one another, which is a problem, because at the end of the day, if someone from your same culture is doing something that is not okay, you have to call them out, or someone within your same race. Like in this case, me and Kendrick Lamar were the same race. We're both Black and we're both from the United States, just different cultures, but we're still Black. Ask about the high-profile killings of African Americans by police in 2014 from Ferguson, MO, to Staten Island, he says. I wish somebody would look in our neighborhood knowing that it's already a situation mentally where it's fucked up. What happened to Michael Brown should have never happened. Never. But when we don't have respect for ourselves, how do we expect them to respect us? It starts from within. Don't start with just a rally. Don't start from looting. It starts from within. To defend himself months after the controversy, he went on Hot 97 and gave his opinion about the whole situation and explained himself in more detail.
Exception, because since everything is going on socially, you were in a Billboard interview, I think, where you said, Black people have to respect themselves if they're gonna get anyone else to respect them. A lot of people felt like you were victim blaming and really not dealing with the issue at hand. Do you have any words for people that may not have understand what you meant by that quote?
I forgive them, period, because obviously they don't understand where I come from. They don't understand what I've been through. They don't understand what I've done to my community that tore it down. You feel me? So for them to take my words out of context, I forgive them, period, because when I speak for self first. When I say respect, I still deal with that. Just because I'm in the limelight don't mean I still don't have animosity toward this gang over here. When they just killed 2 of my homeboys on tour, you feel me? And I gotta get a call and say, that's who did it.
Yeah.
I still feel that energy. I still feel that hatred. I still feel not respecting them because they got a different rag or a different flag on them, rather than looking at them as a black man and say, I respect you because of that. So for those who said that, I forgive you, period. And
this is my opinion. I believe that Kendrick was trying to come from a place where he remembered when he grew up struggling and where he had to basically live in the environment where it was toxic, where it was all about gang violence or people that look like you trying to bully you, hit you, whatever, etc. Things related to these type of discussions.
%, because I tend to put Compton in my music a lot. But what it basically did, it gave me a balance of what type of music I want to do. You know what I'm saying? I had the worst times and the bad times growing up in the city. My worst time is being out in the streets and hanging with my homies and getting into shit. The best times is me actually having a family around me. So what it did was give me balance. So when I go about my music, I'm giving you best of both worlds.
Right.
I'm giving you something that everybody can relate to. It's not just one-sided, where it's all negative and or depressing. It's fun too at the same time.
It's just life music.
It's just life, exactly. So
Right.
that's how my upbringing was. It was really up and down. You know what I'm saying? I'm glad I had that experience because it made me who I am today and
Right.
got me in a position where people can actually relate to me even more.
And he was talking as if like these black people who are attacking one another also play a factor with the police attacking black Americans, even though this is a stretch because let's be real, there are black people who follow the rules, and I'm specifically talking about black Americans who follow the rules and they still be harassed, attacked, or worse, killed by police officers. And this of course includes everyone from the diaspora who is in the United States. But the reason why I'm specifically mentioning black Americans is because in this article they're specifically talking about black Americans. I get it, he thinks a certain way because of respectability politics, I had to say it, and he grew up at a time where respectability politics was thrown out everywhere you go and expected from you, especially if you were struggling growing up. But that still doesn't make it okay as a person who has a huge platform and who is considered a cautious rapper to be talking this way about his own people. This is why people were offended, they were upset, specifically black Americans, and I do not blame them, but I do get Kendrick's side a bit, but I'm going to be honest, I agree, he was not supposed to say that. Even if people took his words out of context, it still wasn't an okay statement, in my opinion. Kendrick Lamar has been with Whitney Alford ever since attending high school. From what I researched, some people consider her a light-skinned black woman or a mixed-race woman, biracial. I looked at images of her siblings from the same parents, and they're around Whitney's complexion, but a bit darker, but they still light-skinned, in my opinion. Since I am not sure on her race, I am going to refer to her as a black woman or light-skinned black woman to be on the safe side. Back in 2015, people started to find out that Kendrick Lamar was with Whitney and that she happened to be a light-skinned black woman, and people were upset because they expected her to be brown to darker skinned, since Kendrick was a conscious rapper who raps about the complexions of black people, specifically on brown to darker skinned black people, specifically darker skinned black women. And people felt like it was a disappointment to find out that a rapper they thought liked the women that look just like them and who is black themselves, pro-black, is willing to date a brown to darker skinned black woman. This is gonna probably be an unpopular opinion for some people, but I feel like you can be cautious and still date a light-skinned and or biracial biracial woman or man, because we all know if you're a woman and you're a rapper and you end up with someone who's mixed race, it applies to you too. I feel like you can still be a cautious rapper, but I get it if it's like you always mentioning about brown to dark skin, this woman, this and that, blah blah blah. People are going to automatically assume that your preference, even though I hate that freaking word, but your preference when it comes to black women are usually brown to dark skinned. But then at the same time, we have to also remember we don't know what type of woman, or well, we technically do know what type of woman Kendrick is interested in, because further on the video, there's more mess. I do not want to spoil it, but for what we know in this portion of the video, Kendrick been with Whitney since they were in high school, and for what it looks like, I think Whitney was one of Kendrick's first few girlfriends. And remember, he was 16 when he met her, so they were both young. So are we really gonna expect him to be with a bunch of women within that time frame? Absolutely not. But I do get people and their concerns, but I do think if you fall in love with somebody, especially if they are a black person or mixed with black person, and you've been with them ever since you guys were young, I don't see nothing bad with that. I think if there's a pattern within the years, and them as an adult with different types of women, and you always see them with the same types, that's when you gotta be concerned. Or when they represent certain women in their music videos, that's when you gotta be concerned, in my opinion. Rashida Stolber is a dark-skinned activist, and she advocates for dark-skinned black women in the media, music, etc. And she gave a valid critique about Kendrick, but at the same time, it was like, but she did give a valid critique back in 2015, which, by the way, her post went viral and it sparked a conversation.
I digress. Just to deal with the whole issue of dark-skinned female discrimination. Black men have been discriminating against dark-skinned women for the longest. And it's like the big elephant in the room. And so for me to talk about it, and for people, black people are upset because it's like airing the dirty laundry. And, you know, I'm not going to say it in a way that people want me to say. I'm going to say it how I feel, whatever I feel at that present moment. And at that present moment, when I looked at that picture and I saw him and his fiance, I thought to myself, here we go again. Here's a man that is speaking
about... Keep talking. My battery's going to die. Keep talking.
Sure.
Keep talking.
Here's a man that's speaking about colorism issues and, you know, using that platform of liking or appreciating dark-skinned women by speaking about him in his songs, by putting them in his videos. And so it's reasonable for me as a dark-skinned woman to expect that you know, perhaps your mate will be dark-skinned because he's presenting this to the world. But a lot of times what I've learned is a lot of these black entertainers, they know how to get black women in. They know how to reel us in by talking about issues that we're concerned about. But then when you look behind the scenes, they on some other stuff. And I feel like his behavior is fraudulent.
Then after that, a black man made a critique, mockery, or whatever you prefer to call it, about Rashida within his article, and basically was trying to do some reverse colorism crap, and I'm not even going to get into that mess. Basically, he was like saying that she don't make sense because at the end of the day, Whitney is a black woman, and you could still be cautious and be with a light-skinned black woman, this and that. And then he was talking about preferences, and I'm gonna say this right here right now, we need to abolish the word preference, because the way a lot of you guys are using it the wrong way and being anti-black is very tiring. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of that fucking word. This is why I hardly say that word in my videos, but unless if it's like I have to, and I have no choice, I end up saying the freaking word. But we need to abolish the word preference. I'm tired of it. In 2017, Kendrick Lamar released his second #1 single, Humble.
You and I know, bitch, be humble. Bitch, sit down. Be humble. Bitch, sit down.
While receiving praise, he also received criticism of the lyrics of the song and having a mixed race woman as the leading lady of the music video. Before I share my opinion and additional facts, I do want to acknowledge that I do like the song, I do like the music video, and I do believe this song is a staple within Kendrick Lamar's discography, but I do have to remember that I need to hear from other people's POVs, aka point of views, and I need to also understand that just because I like something does not mean that everyone is going to like something. There were critiques about the mixed race women not representing the song accurately, specifically with the lyrics, being accused of misogyny. When it comes to the lyrics of the song, I am not going to lie. It's, straight, direct, and, I'm not going to front. So I do understand why certain people were offended, specifically women. I get it. He does kind of contradict himself since he put someone who is mixed race to represent a black woman with an afro. So you're going to expect someone who is black with an afro. And yes, there are mixed race people with an afro, but this woman does not have an afro. And I do want to mention another thing. The model, Carter Kim, said that she is multiracial. Her mother is full Korean and her father is African American and French. So he's mixed. This means that she's multiracial with 3 races. This is why the discussion on multiracial people not being black is needed. Highly recommend you guys to watch this video if you have not. In 2018, either May or June of 2018, Kendrick Lamar and his team threatened Spotify if they taken out XXXTentacion and R. Kelly from their streaming services. Anthony Top Dog Tenefif, CEO of Top Dog Entertainment, used the excuse of how only problematic black artists were taken out, but not other problematic non-black artists. I do believe that black people as a whole, we get more injustices. Basically, we get, let's just say someone does something bad within the community, right, or whatever, or sometimes nothing bad, or most of the time nothing bad, and then they get easily in trouble and easily caught, whereas white people and or even some non-black people get an easier pass. This is true, but we talking about XXXTentacion and R. Kelly. These 2 men have done numerous problematic things within the black community that affects black people, especially black women. And for people to be pretending, aka Kendrick Lamar and his team, who is mostly black people, it does not make them look good, and it also makes Kendrick look like he does not care about black women, especially brown to dark skinned black women, because XXXTentacion said horrendous things about dark skinned black women while he was a teenager, and before anyone makes an excuse, that is not an excuse. And then we also have to remember R. Kelly, Uproxx writer Aaron Williams states, X's mediocre music is more important than black women's safety and emotional well-being. Kendrick Lamar's own standing in the eyes of young, impressionable, and mostly male fans is more important than black women's safety and emotional well-being. I mean, Aaron is correct, and he summarized basically what I just said. But more there, Now we're at the most recent controversies, one of them being him featuring Kodak Black in Silent Hill. And in case you do not know, this is from Kendrick Lamar's 5th studio album, Mr. Moreau, and the Big Steppers. I am not going to front. When I heard that Kodak Black was on the song, I was not happy, but I ended up listening to it, of course, and I do like the song. But I still think that Kendrick Lamar made a bad choice to put him on the song because Kodak Black has been accused of raping a minor, and he ended up picking I forgot what he did, but he basically picked like easy way out to not be in jail for a long time or to not be in jail at all. Gross. And it also shows that he may have done it, even though I think he did. I'm gonna be honest. So it's gross. Best believe I'm not trying to support him, but this song is good. I'm sorry. But I do get people's critiques. I do think that it was a bad move for Kendrick Lamar to be doing that, especially on this specific album where there's so many layers to certain songs, and it talks about women, specifically black women, and the safety of black women. You're gonna know more when you get in the video, and it shows how tone deaf Kendrick is in a way, even if he sees it as in a way of trying to forgive Kodak Black. We don't need to do that, and I don't think he needs to be forgiven for that. But I do want to mention one more thing. Kodak Black also talked very disgustingly about dark-skinned black women before. Yeah, he's not good. I'm telling you, he's not good. In this portion of the video, we're going to be talking about a few of Kendrick Lamar's interesting yet controversial songs on his album. The first song we're going to be talking about is Where the White Steppers, and in this song he said things that relate to Kendrick Lamar's preferences. He implied that he slept with white women to cheat on Whitney with, basically. Not with Whitney, obviously. Yeah, basically he cheated on Whitney with white women. The first time was when he was 16, or maybe this happened before he met Whitney, even though I don't think so, because he was making references like she was in the picture when this happened. And then he also said like a metaphor about he might be racist for sleeping with these white women because of the power dynamic and stuff like that in the song. I'm telling you, it's crazy. Then he also talked about how he slept with white women in the Good Kid, Mad City tour while he was with Whitney once again. And then further on, we're going to talk about more songs that relate to this specific topic. So we're going to move on to the next section, and then I tie my opinions about that more further on. Father Time is one of the songs that I resonated with in a sense, because in my family it's taboo to go to therapy for everyone, man or woman or boy or girl. It does not matter, or they and them, it does not matter. In my family, you cannot go to therapy unless, like, now as an adult it's different, but you know, there's still bits of criticisms about going to therapy and stuff, which is understandable, I guess, because there's worries. And then of course when you see things in the media, you think a certain way about therapy, so I get it. But I do think therapy is important, so I do appreciate the song. And he talks about toxic masculinity overall in the song.
And a man, that's how they look at you.
Yeah.
All the time.
Is that what inspired that song?
Yeah, definitely. What you were saying the first time is a lot of men can't express themselves like that. Especially, you know, I'll give you an example. The folks I grew up around, they can't they can't say when they feeling bad or feeling sad, because it's that mentality. It's that street mentality. Show I'm strong, I'm standing up. But when it get dark, tears rolling down their eyes. You feel what I'm saying? And you can't express that. And what happens is that leads to one of the homies knocking himself off. You know,
or being violent against somebody else.
Violent against somebody else when you can't express that. And I always took it upon myself. I'm gonna be the voice for you. Period. And that's always been the blueprint of my music. I'm a voice for everybody who can't talk like that, who can't put their words together or express themselves on record. Because.
And then he also talks about his experiences with his dad and growing up, and how it shaped him as an adult, and why he wants to do better for his children.
Everybody on Twitter talking about his album. Writers getting the think pieces ready, and you on the beach chilling. It's kind of crazy.
It's dope, bro. Get away from that shit for a minute. One of my favorite lines in the album is where Whit say, "You really need to go to therapy." And I say, real niggas don't go to therapy. Because that's how niggas feel, you know what I'm saying? We grew up where our parents don't know about that, our grandparents don't know about that. You live and you experience the shit that you go through, and you deal with it right then and there, or you don't never deal with it. We learned to hold all our shit in. Shit, we keep 100 with you. That wasn't my forte when people mention it to me. You know, I'm still stuck. How my pops think fucking therapy for.
And I appreciate this message. I do think this is a positive, and the reason why I'm mentioning it right here, right now, is because the other songs, there are certain parts that's gonna be like the first song, "We Cry Together."
Why you like playing mind games with me? Bitch, I ain't so nor ditzy. I know when you being distant. I know when you fake bitch.
This song is basically a toxic relationship song, and it's specifically based on a black couple who is toxic. Now, this song, when I heard it the first time, I was like, but then the more I heard it, I liked the song more, and then I also understood a deeper meaning of the song, and about how sometimes we get carried away when we in relationships where we do not agree with our partner, and then about how sometimes we think a relationship is good until you realize it's actually toxic, and that you shouldn't be with that person, especially because if the fights escalate to the point that you cursing each other out all the time like that, unless if that's something you cool with, but Savior is indeed one of my favorite songs from the album.
Are you happy for me? Millie, are you happy for me? You smile on my face, but are you happy for me? Yeah,
As a matter of fact, I overplayed this song in 2022. I don't know how many times, but I did overplay the song, which is totally fine, because I still love the song, and I was always addicted to watching the performances, including with him wearing the crown that people have criticisms about when it comes to religion. But I'm not going to talk about that part, which I want to mention briefly, because a few people pointed that out to me when it comes to that, about the God complex of Kendrick Lamar's. And I do want to say that since I don't think it fits with him with blackness being shady, because there are different types of black people who have a different perspective when it comes to religion, I do recommend you guys to watch Juicy and Books and Lux TV's videos on this discussion, because they go in depth with this discussion, and I don't feel like I got the range, but also, like I said, I don't think it fits this video. In this song, he talks about how there are so many expectations on black entertainers, and about how it's stressful, and how they cannot save us, and how at the end of the day they still human. That's basically like one of the glimpses of the song, like the main focus of it. And I do get it, I do. And then he also talks about how certain people use activism on the internet and think that's enough, and it's not, apparently, depending who does it and how they do it. I think that when you're a black person with power, aka you're a celebrity, an influencer, a politician, someone who is high up, whatever you want to call it, and or rich, depending who the person is, it could be bad, but basically you have a power dynamic that's not the same as someone who is me or any other black person who is poor, working class, and middle class. So we have a right to critique you, because if you have so much power and we'll critique you and it affects other black people, we have the right to critique you. And we have the right to have a discussion and see why this is wrong and or why we have to be concerned, because it's going to affect us people who are poor, working class, and or middle class. Auntie Diaries. This song, oh my god, I'm going to explain this. So basically, Kendrick Lamar talked about his uncle and his cousin who transitioned. Now, I'm going to say this right here, right now. Kendrick Lamar does not have the right to be using the F word. And I get it. He used to say that when he was a kid, and then he realized when he got older, that's a bad word, and that he doesn't have the right to say it, but he still chose to say it in the song. And I know a few people were saying that it wouldn't feel the same if he didn't, because if he censored it, it wouldn't make an impact. I get it, but I do think it wasn't necessary, in my opinion, and I do think he doesn't have the right to be using that word. When it comes to talking about his family members who are transgendered, I do think if they agreed to it, which I think they did, he has the right to share their stories and how it affected him growing up. Now, what I'm not going to do is say that if they didn't agree with it, he has the right to do that, because at that point, he does not have the right to be telling the stories. The final song is Mother I Sober. This song, it's very deep. So if anything related to sexual assault and or rape makes you feel comfortable, I highly suggest you to skip this portion of the video and go straight to concluding statements. Okay. When it comes to this song, Kendrick talks about growing up, specifically when he was 5 years old, and his mother and his family were worried about him potentially being sexually assaulted by a family member. And the reason why is because Kendrick Lamar's mother was sexually assaulted by a family member. And in this song, he talked about how this is normalized within the black community as like a hush-hush situation where certain people do not want to talk about and or distance themselves from creeps within the family who sexually assault people within their family or even outside of their family. And it's very sad, and I do feel bad for Kendrick Lamar's mom and anyone who ever experienced this, because I know this is a traumatic experience. For him to share that, I know it was hard for him, but it did traumatize him a bit, and it made him felt like he was weak to some degree, because he does mention it in the song about how these questions made him think very weirdly growing up, and about his masculinity and stuff like that. The song also tackles Kendrick Lamar admitting that he had a sex addiction and cheating on Whitney, like I previously mentioned earlier. From what I understood from Mother I Sober and Worldwide Steppers, I think Kendrick had a fetish for white women at some point of his career when he started to get bigger, and then that ego, it went into his head, and then he woke up once Whitney called him out and or found out, and then he went to therapy, seeked help, and boom, now he is a father of 2, and he's still with Whitney. I'm not sure if they married or not, but I do know they still together. So it makes sense. It makes sense. The fact that he was eager to get white supremacy pussy, he ended up sacrificing his relationship with his high school sweetheart, and maybe he still sees her as his high school sweetheart, but I just think cheating is, it's unacceptable. I'm sorry. I can't. I know some people do not mind cheaters, but I do. I mind cheaters. I cannot do it. And then growing up seeing my father do that to my mother, and then hearing the stories of my grandmothers with infidelity with my grandfathers, like my grandfathers were cheating like crazy, and then hearing other people cheating within my family, specifically the men in my family, it made me have this viewpoint of what's the point of being in the relationship if you're going to keep on cheating with your spouses, especially if you've been together with this person for a long time and you have kids together. I feel like, what's the purpose? At this point, you might as well take a break, break up, or both. One more thing I do want to mention is that he did talk about how more rappers need to discuss being sexually assaulted and or raped by people while they were younger, and they happened to take advantage of them being younger. I'm telling you, it's a mess. It's a mess. But I'm thankful that Kendrick did share these personal things. Concluding statement: I do not consider Kendrick Lamar anti-black, but I do believe that his views of blackness is shaky. And I also believe that there was a point in time when Kendrick Lamar was about to become anti-black. I believe that Kendrick needs to hear from other people in the community who can teach him certain things, read more books, movies, and watch YouTube videos like this one. I do also want to acknowledge that I appreciate the fact that Kendrick has been responding to his controversies and he is not too hidden like other celebrities. Not to say easier, but more like to understand where he's coming from and to be like, okay, I could pinpoint the issues. And then I could see what is he thinking about the situation and how he answers back when it comes to the criticism. I forgot to mention this, but he definitely needs to hear out black women, especially brown to dark skinned black women's point of views. Definitely. And finally, remember, he is not our savior, but a lot of people look up to him. So constructive criticism is needed.
Of you saying that you're not trying to be preachy, but a lot of people have chosen you to be the voice of this generation.
Oh my God. Mm-hmm.
Does that what kind of pressure does that put on you?
It puts, I don't want to necessarily say pressure. All I can, do is continue to be an actual human being, and then to show them that, I go through the same emotions and the same, feelings that y'all go through. You know? So if they, put that as being the leader of this generation, then so be it, because all I can do is express myself and hope you take something from it.
Thank you so much if you made it this far in this video. I appreciate you. Be sure to like this video, especially if you made it this far, please, and thank you. Be sure to comment, especially if you have anything to say with anything that I put in this video or anything in general. If you're new here and you really like this video, please consider to subscribe and check out other videos on my channel. I'm really trying to grow this channel, and I'm this close to being monetized. This close. So please subscribe and check out the content. Mi gente. Okay. I do want to share something. I went to Kendrick Lamar's show at Brooklyn on August 6th.
It was off the rap, 20 years young, 20 year on the tax, captain by greed. Little man, the big man's the street teeth down, I'm flipping the kickstand. Rich nigga, no phone, song, sing. Can't fuck with you no more, I'm faster. Brooklyn, New York. I go by the name of Kendrick Lamar, Kodak, Mr. Novella, this is the Big Step Tour. You can be anywhere in the world, but you're here right now. I pray y'all get back safe. I love you.
It was a splendid show, and it was worth the $252 that I spent for my ticket. You see, you can like someone and still criticize them. Thank you, and